There's something no one tells you about anxiety. It's not always loud. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it feels like an invisible tension running under everything, like the world is just slightly off, and you can't explain why. You wake up, and before your feet hit the ground, your mind is racing. What if I fail today? What if something goes wrong? What if I can't hold it all together? But what if I told you that, over 2,000 years ago, ancient philosophers were battling the same thing? What if I told you that anxiety isn't new, and that the Stoics, of all people, left behind a roadmap for how to deal with it? Not by running from it, not by numbing it, but by turning and facing it like a warrior meeting the edge of a storm. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's not just a poetic line, it's a lifeline, because anxiety at its core is about the illusion of control. It's your mind grasping at outcomes, trying to predict the unpredictable, trying to avoid pain that hasn't even happened yet. And yet, it feels so real, doesn't it? The tight chest, the shallow breathing, the endless loop of thoughts. Anxiety tricks your body into thinking you're in danger. But here's the thing, you're not right now. Right now, you're just sitting, listening, breathing. And if the Stoics were here, they'd remind you, nothing bad is happening in this moment. Your suffering comes from your interpretation. Not the event, not the day, not the world, but the story you're telling yourself about all of it. Epictetus, once a slave who became one of the greatest Stoic teachers, put it like this: men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. That one line changes everything. It shifts the power from the chaos of the outside world back into your hands. Because if your view is the problem, your view can also be the solution. But let's slow down. I know what anxiety feels like. I've had days when I couldn't breathe. Nights when sleep was impossible. I felt like I was being chased by something I couldn't see or name. And in those moments, the last thing I wanted to hear was a quote. I didn't want philosophy. I wanted peace, relief, a way out. That's exactly why Stoicism matters, because it's not theory, it's not abstract, it's a practice. It's a way of living, breathing, and choosing how to meet life even when it gets overwhelming. Especially when it gets overwhelming. Let's talk about control. One of the core principles of Stoicism is the dichotomy of control. The idea that there are only two categories of things in life, what you can control and what you can't. Everything else, irrelevant. Not because it doesn't matter, but because worrying about what you can't control is like shouting into the wind. It doesn't change the weather. It just makes you hoarse. You can't control how others think. You can't control the future. You can't control the past. But you can control how you meet the moment, how you respond to your thoughts, whether you feed the anxious spiral or step back and say, "Ah, I see you." That moment of awareness, that breath, that's where freedom begins. Seneca, another Stoic thinker, wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." How true is that? How often have you rehearsed a disaster that never came? How many times have you created entire crises in your head only to realize they never materialized? That's the mind in survival mode. It's trying to protect you, but it's also hurting you. The Stoics didn't teach us to suppress emotion. They taught us to meet emotion with reason. Not cold, robotic logic, but calm clarity. They didn't say, "Don't feel anxious." They said, when you feel anxious, pause, examine it, ask where it comes from, then decide if it deserves your attention. Imagine this. You're standing on a beach. The waves of anxiety are crashing against you. Most people try to push the waves away. But the Stoics, they stand still. They let the wave come. They let it crash. And when it passes, they're still standing. Because they didn't resist the water, they accepted it. And they remembered, I am not the wave, I am the shore. This is the essence of Stoic strength, not resistance, but resilience. Let's go deeper. When anxiety hits, your first instinct is usually to do something, fix it, solve it, escape it. But the Stoics would say, start by doing nothing. Sit with it, observe it, write about it. Marcus Aurelius kept a journal, Meditations, where he poured his thoughts and fears onto the page. Not to impress anyone, but to understand himself, to see clearly, to calm the chaos within. Journaling, reflection, breath, these are the Stoic tools. And they're still here, waiting for you to use them. You don't need to be an emperor to practice Stoicism. You just need to be human. Here's a simple practice. When you feel anxiety rising, ask yourself 3 questions. Is this within my control? What would a wise person do right now? Can I let this be, just for this moment? These 3 questions cut through the noise. They anchor you in clarity. Because anxiety thrives in confusion, but it shrinks in the face of truth. And here's another truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness watching them. That's what Stoicism reminds us of again and again. The anxious thought might say, I can't handle this. But the awareness steps back and says, that's just a thought, not a fact. You are not your fear. You are not your panic. You are not the storm. You are the sky. And the sky is never broken. You see what I'm saying? This isn't about becoming fearless. It's about becoming more present. Fear might still visit, but it doesn't get to stay without your permission. One of the most powerful ideas in Stoicism is Premeditatio, Malorum, the premeditation of adversity. It sounds dark, but it's liberating. It means imagining what could go wrong, not to scare yourself, but to prepare your mind. To train it to meet life, not hide from it. The Stoics would ask, what's the worst that could happen? And then they'd answer it, not with panic, but with reason. They'd say, if this happens, I'll meet it with courage. If that happens, I'll respond with patience. Whatever comes, I will not abandon myself. What if you said that to your anxiety? What if, instead of resisting, you welcomed it like an old teacher? What if anxiety wasn't a sign that something's wrong, but an invitation to come home to yourself? Maybe the Stoics weren't trying to eliminate anxiety at all. Maybe they were trying to help us walk through it with grace. But Marcus Aurelius also reminds us that we always have the power to reframe. He wrote, if you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now. Read that again, your anxiety. It's not the event, not the person, not the unknown future. It's the judgment you make about those things. And judgments are flexible, changeable, yours to shape. That's radical. That's freedom. Imagine walking into a meeting, your heart racing. Instead of spiraling into what if I mess up, you pause and say, this is just a bodily sensation, not dangerous, just adrenaline. I'm prepared. I've survived worse. In that instant, you don't eliminate anxiety, you transcend it. Now let's explore something most people miss. Control versus concern. Stoics divide life into 2 domains, what is up to us and what is not. Epictetus was blunt. Some things are in our control and others are not. Anxiety thrives when we confuse the 2. When we try to control what others think, what will happen tomorrow, or whether everything goes perfectly. But Stoicism says, Let it go. Focus on your thoughts, your reactions, your actions. That's your domain, the future, the weather, the behavior of others. That's outside your circle. So next time anxiety tightens its grip, ask yourself, am I trying to control something that's not mine to control? You'll be shocked how much tension fades when you simply release what was never yours. Now let's get practical. Here's a Stoic technique I use every morning. It's called Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. It sounds dark, but it's freeing. Before starting your day, visualize the things that could go wrong, not to catastrophize, but to prepare. You might imagine a difficult conversation going south, a project is failing, or someone criticizing your work, and then you calmly accept it. You remind yourself, I have the tools to respond wisely, to endure, to learn. This technique doesn't invite doom, it disarms it. By rehearsing potential adversity, we become less afraid of it, and paradoxically, more present, less anxious, and more grateful. Now let's go even deeper, to the fear of death, which underlies much of our modern anxiety. Seneca said, "He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a man who is alive." Think about it. Many of our anxious habits, rushing, overworking, obsessing, come from the unconscious idea that we're running out of time, that we must prove ourselves, that we must avoid pain at all costs. But the Stoics confronted death daily, not morbidly, but clearly. Marcus Aurelius reflected, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. That's not anxiety, that's presence. When you remember your time is finite, you stop sweating the small things. You stop avoiding discomfort. You stop letting fear decide for you. Because your life is now, anxiety cannot survive in the now. One breath, one task, one choice at a time. Even the breath itself is a Stoic tool. They didn't speak of it much, but they lived it. Slow, intentional breathing interrupts the mind's racing stories. It anchors you back into your body, the only place where strength exists. So if your thoughts begin to spiral, return to breathe 4 seconds in. Hold 4 seconds out. Repeat. No philosophy needed, just stillness, just now. Now I want to speak directly to you, not as a narrator, but as someone who knows what it's like. There were nights I couldn't sleep, mornings I dreaded, tasks I delayed, afraid of how they'd go. And yet here I am, speaking these words not from theory, but from experience. Anxiety never fully goes away, but it can be transformed. Every anxious thought is an opportunity to train courage. Every trigger is a teacher. Every breath is a chance to return to yourself. This isn't toxic positivity. It's ancient, practiced resilience. And the more you live it, the stronger you become. You won't just cope with anxiety, you'll use it as a signal, as a challenge, as a fire to walk through and emerge wiser. Because what Stoicism teaches, what I've felt myself, is this: you are not your panic, you are not your fear. You are the awareness behind it all, and that awareness, that's untouchable. The world may shake. Your thoughts may race, but deep within, there is a still point, an inner citadel, as Marcus called it. Go there, live from there. And nothing can break you. So let me ask you, what's one anxious thought you're ready to reframe today? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear it, not just because it helps you, but because someone else might read your words and feel less alone. And if this message resonated with you, if it stirred something real in your chest, don't keep it to yourself. Like the video, share it. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Because this is more than just a channel. It's a community of minds seeking depth, calm, and truth in a chaotic world. You were never meant to fight anxiety alone. You were meant to face it with wisdom. And now, you have it. Breathe deep, stand tall, walk forward. You've got this.